In the late 1930s, Hitler's Germany built a line of fortifications along the Dutch and Belgian border that was known as the Siegfried Line. Many of these fortifications are still around today. This whole tree line here is a banded dragon's teeth, and I'm going to walk closer so you can see what I'm talking about. Dragon's teeth were anti-tank obstacles. There's a tank, well, you can see them better on this side. The tank was not supposed to be able to drive up and over this stuff because he would high center. They're designed such that they're far enough apart that the tank can't drive in between them, and not so far, not so far apart that the tank can drive between them, but not so close that he can drive up and over them. As you'll notice, they're all not in a row, and they all have different shapes. They're sloped on one side on some parts and sloped on the other sides on the others. That makes it so that tanks slide off when they try to drive in between. Then they get stuck, and then they'd be easy meat for anti-tank guns, which would have been somewhere in that far wood line over there. Pretty slick idea, huh? And he built something here, like 200 kilometers is another bunker of this dragon. The telltale, and this section here is really well built. This right here. That is obviously concrete and not a rock. Most of these bunkers have all been filled in and collapsed. Either the ones that weren't destroyed during the war were destroyed afterwards to keep kids from going in there and partying, because they're fairly dangerous places. The trick to finding old fighting positions is knowing what you're looking for. Here's another piece of bunker. Because these foxholes don't look like foxholes. Oh, what do we have here? That could be, that is looks like an old hatch from a bunker. You can see it right there, and more pieces here. I'm not going to try and dig it up. But if you look, the trick is to find these old foxholes. You just look for the hollows, and they're regular hollows, much like this one right here. This one's starting to get covered up from them throwing brush on it as they trim these woods out. But a normal whole hole don't look like that. It don't have the regular outline that a foxhole has. These trenches are the old Siegfried Line that the Americans tried to come through from September to January. September 44 to January 45. You can see this trench here, another trench there. The whole line of them right here. If I stand on this stump, you can survey them. I mean, now they just look like collapses. But that's an old German trench line. And the Americans were coming from this direction, which you can't see a hell of a lot now either. Farther up this way, about 300 meters, is a bunker. If I walk farther back, you can see that pit there. That's a firing pit. The whole crest of this ridge line here is covered with old foxholes and fighting positions. I'll point them out as I walk through here. And keep in mind, this is about as grown up as it was in September of '44. There were just as many trees. Here's a foxhole right here. There's one right here. There's another farther back. I don't know if you can see it. Just on the other side of that little green stump sticking up is another one. Let me zoom back in, or back out as the case may be. You see that position there? Then get this one. There's another one right there. Position right there. There's one with that tree running across it, and just the other side of that is another one. I'm going to walk farther back in here and see what we got. There should be a second line here about 50 meters back. There's another one. This right here almost looks like they tried to scrape out a communications trench. You can see this. Let you creep back here. Here's another one that's in pretty good shape. You can really see the shape of this one. And keep in mind, you can see the whole line of trenches that goes up here. Keep in mind, during the war, these would have been at least waist deep, if not deeper. Depends on the time that the soldiers had to dig it. There's another one over here. I mean, these whole woods are just full of foxholes and fighting positions. They fought over this for almost 5 months. It wasn't until the end of January '45 that the U.S. troops broke through here. Here's another pretty decently preserved one. And nobody's preserved these, they're just here. So this is a position. You can imagine the Germans were sitting in this, looking that way. And this is a secondary position. This is actually one they fell back to. As you can see, another larger one farther up there.